My folks were going away for the weekend as it was their anniversary. And, to no surprise, they wanted to be alone. This meant that I had to take care of and be responsible for my younger brother, Oliver. Our home and neighborhood were surrounded by woods, and Ollie loved walking around the trail that was behind our house. However, he couldn't go there without permission. So naturally, since I was 18 and he was 10, I'd have to go with him for safety. It was a short time before lunch, so I decided to join Ollie on his trip. That way, my appetite would be in a more healthy state when we got back. It was spring, and the leaves were sparse, just beginning to bounce back onto the trees. This also meant I had to be on the lookout for any kind of dangerous creatures that could be lurking and potentially cause harm to either of us. I could hear Ollie sniffing the air and then groaning at something. "Something smells like... he said nasally as he pinched his nostrils shut. "Hey, watch your mouth," I replied, surprised by the sudden curse. Just because Mom and Dad aren't here doesn't mean you're allowed to say whatever you want. I sniffed the air anyway. He was right. There was a smell of rotting meat that saturated my nose. It was like roadkill. I saw what looked like legs by a tree a few yards from us. "Stay right there, okay?" I instructed Ollie. He nodded, keeping his hand on his nose. I cautiously walked forward and went around the tree to see what it was. It was a deer, and it was very much dead. Flies buzzed and swarmed around it. I was used to seeing dead animals out here. Hunting was pretty common. But something about it unsettled me. It was the way its neck had been torn into almost completely down to the bone. A bear would typically go down to the muscle and stop there, but this went all the way to the bone. This had to have been done by something much more terrifying. But what? I looked back to see if Ollie had, in fact, done what I asked him to do. He had, but he was staring out into the woods, his eyes filled with worry, and he looked scared. "You all right, bud?" I asked, noticing his expression. "Something's out there," he mumbled, still looking alarmed. I looked to see if he was just playing around. All I could see were trees and brush. It was probably a deer or something. "Don't worry so much. Come on, let's go back and get some lunch." So we did, just to ease his mind. I made us peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and we watched a movie for a bit. Ollie usually loved his sandwiches and would finish them quickly, but he ate his so slowly. I didn't bother asking what he thought he saw. I figured he just spooked himself and would eventually get over it. Still, the back of my mind was unsettled by that deer. How could its neck have been damaged to such a horrific degree? Night fell, and Ollie begged me to let him sleep next to me as I put him to bed. "What has gotten into you?" I asked him. "That thing's still out there." It was staring at me. It was dark and big. "Bigger than you. I'm sure you just scared yourself. If anything was out there, it wasn't anything dangerous." He continued to beg, but I kept refusing and told him to close his eyes. I reassured him that he'd forget about it in the morning. I lay down in my bed, ready for a good night's sleep. I liked keeping my TV on so I'd have a light source in my room. I felt my eyes starting to droop and get heavy as I slowly drifted off. Suddenly, there was a snap from outside, like a stick breaking. I thought it was some animal, maybe another deer, but what would be out at this time of night? My TV was still on, so I decided to watch a bit more, just to get my mind off things. My gaze drifted to the window, and my heart sank. There was something at the window. I couldn't make out what it was, except for its eyes. They were dull and lifeless, almost dead, yet they stared straight at me. I tried to act as if I didn't see it, rolling over onto my stomach and pretending to sleep, hoping it would leave. Then, I heard something against the glass. It was scratching at my window. The sound pierced my ears and grated at my nerves. My chest began to feel tight as my breathing grew shallow. My window was starting to open, and I could hear that thing climbing into my room. Its presence became clear as its shadow cast a dark shape over my entire bed. I lay there, hyperventilating for what seemed like hours, until I felt the mattress begin to sink. The springs groaned as the creature climbed onto the bed. I felt as if I could literally die from fear right there. The thing started crawling across my bed. I tried my best not to breathe so hard, but I was utterly paralyzed by fear. It paused right above my shoulders, and I felt its massive feet pressing onto my shoulder blades. I could barely breathe. To my right, I had a mirror that allowed me to see what was above me, and chills ran down my spine. The creature was dark, huge, at least 7 feet tall and slender. Its arms extended down to its calves, its chest looming over me, stretching in an impossible way. It didn't look human or animal. It seemed alien. I shut my eyes tightly, hoping it was just a nightmare. I could hear the creature's heavy breaths and snarls. It sounded like a dog, but far more unsettling. As it gripped harder, I felt terrified beyond belief. My ears were ringing, and I was barely breathing. Just then, something seemed to lure it off of me, and the creature jumped away. Through the ringing in my ears, I thought I heard something like bangs and rusty hinges. Slowly, I felt the blood flow return, and I passed out. Morning came, and I had a massive headache. My chest felt tight, but I knew I had to wake up Ollie and make breakfast. I hesitantly went to his room, but found his bed empty. I checked downstairs, wondering if he was hiding somewhere. Nothing. Then I thought of the one place he would definitely be if he was hiding. I headed outside and walked down the trail in the back of the woods. I took several paths, trying to ignore the pain in my head, when I finally saw his bare feet by a tree. "Ollie," I called, exhausted and irritated. "Come on, what are you?" I stopped. My entire world shattered as I was struck with every terrible feeling imaginable. I connected the dots, and it answered all my questions while amplifying my despair 1,000-fold. Ollie was sitting there. His skin was pale, his cloudy eyes bloodshot, and his neck was mutilated to the bone. He was dead. Thank you all for your support. Please like and subscribe to help my YouTube feed, Ghostly Gloom Stories.